everyone. My name's Emily. I am the content marketing manager at Smoothstack, and I'm super excited to be sitting down with our SVP of Enterprise Commercial Sales, Craig Shaneck. Craig is a Dallas, Texas resident, and he has a background spanning 20 years in IT consulting with an additional 5 years leading teams in enterprise SaaS sales. Craig brings a wealth of expertise about the tech industry to Smoothstack, where he leads our commercial growth. Beyond his professional life, Craig is also an active member of the International Dinner Club, and he recently became a published author. So Craig, thank you for joining us today for this conversation. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you ended up at Smoothstack, and what you do in your role?
Sure, I'd love to. I don't think I can cover much more about myself in general. That was such a kind way to phrase it. Thank you very much. Yeah, from a Smoothstack perspective, I've been here. I started this role in January, and there's actually kind of an interesting story behind it. You mentioned that I was working in SaaS sales. I was working for Microsoft. I lived in Dublin, Ireland. That was going to be kind of my career trajectory. I had some visa issues with my son once he turned 18, and it required me coming back to the United States relatively quickly in order to, not be there against any regulations or what have you. I was like, okay, I'll start looking for, some Microsoft roles internally and then see, where I can land. I got a reference from a colleague that says, you really need to check out Smoothstack. They're looking for, this type of sales leader at the moment. So I had kind of cut my teeth early in my career in kind of the staff augmentation, specifically around SAP space. And once I had finally gotten kind of out of that staffing industry, I had made a commitment to myself that I would never come back. So I immediately kind of was not very interested in what they were talking about, but they persisted a bit and said, no, this is a very, very different model. It's this hire, train, deploy model. And I'm like, I've never heard, I don't know what that is. So I was able to talk to John and Boris, the CEO and COO, and they kind of shared to me their mission and vision. And it was enough for me to say, you know what, this doesn't violate my oath to myself. This is a very interesting, model. It does some good in the world. Smoothstack's vision and mission was compelling enough for me not only to change continents, but kind of come back to an industry that I had thought I had left behind. And I'm super excited to be here, and I'm very excited on kind of what we're doing and the progress that we're making in this space.
Awesome. Well, we're happy that you came back and to have you leading our enterprise division. You're working a lot right now with advanced manufacturing, semiconductors, data centers, those types of industries. In the time that you've spent looking at how those industries are developing their workforces, what are the main challenges that you're seeing with talent acquisition at scale because of the challenges that industry is facing in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real interesting confluence of things, right? There's, we had the pandemic, which really showcased a kind of a very serious flaw in our supply chain. And it was really, epitomized well or poorly, whichever way you want to look at it, in the semiconductor space. There were so many different industries that were affected by the lack of chips and the lack of a resilient supply chain. Certainly a lot of work has been done on overall supply chains globally to kind of rectify this issue. But one of the channels that at least the United States is pursuing is really trying to bring some of this, very strategic manufacturing back to the United States. And this is not only promoted by federal dollars, but I think the CHIPS Act is worth about $53 billion in funding. But the private sector in the semicon space has put up about 10x that themselves, and that's what they've committed to building new fabs across the country. Primarily, this really hasn't been manufactured in the United States at scale in maybe 50 years, so a fairly long period of time. We're facing a similar type of growth in the data center space as well. With the emergence of AI, machine learning, and kind of the large language models, the amount of compute that's necessary so everyone can have ChatGPT on their phone, let alone the strategic business parts of AI that are on the way, the amount of compute that's really been required from our cloud providers or from our hosting providers has skyrocketed as well. There's these two confluence of events that are occurring in kind of what we're labeling this advanced manufacturing space. where there's a bunch of new roles and new jobs that the existing market really can't handle at the moment. And that's where, and that's where Smoothstack comes in with the hire, train, deploy methodology.
So the challenges are mainly just scaling the workforce to meet the demand. And we're seeing that being a huge issue for all these data centers that are popping up. So with that, what would you say to those workforce development experts in those industries in particular? What advice would you have for them as they're looking to scale their teams?
Yeah, and you really pointed out the heart of the issue, that the normal channels that you would normally deal with kind of these type of events are really not going to be sufficient. The market itself doesn't have enough people to cover the amount of jobs that are coming. So clearly, companies are at an impasse when they're looking at their let's say 1, 3, 5-year staffing plans. They know what the staff needs are. They understand the dates that these new data centers are coming online, the new fabs are coming online, and they know they've got to, staff up for these type of skills. And this has subsequent effects in other industries as well. If you look at the semiconductor space, there's not only semiconductor manufacturers, but there's all the tool and equipment manufacturers. Those are on an earlier ramp up because those tools are part of the fab builds that are coming out. A lot of these things occurring at once. And when you look at the talent required for all those kind of entry level layer of staffing, and you've got the biggest slice on the bottom, and then you've got your most experienced folks at the peak, and there's less of those than the technician space. Fundamentally, what Smoothstack is really good at, and what I would say is our superpower, is identifying what are the core components of every job in this space, and then understanding what are the foundational characteristics or traits that a person needs to have in order to be successful in the role. And we can identify those people even though they don't have a data center or semiconductor manufacturer on their resume. So if we can understand the core characteristics, then we can train. And that's the train part of the hire, train, deploy. Our pedigree has really grown up in the software engineering space, and we're really, really good about creating net new talent in software, in different SaaS products. But this was a little bit different. How do we address the technician market? How do we address the data center technician, the field service engineer, the L0, L1 semiconductor technicians, where we're seeing this incredible amount of demand? So our biggest revelation was the fact that these foundational components are indeed the same, and we can leverage our kind of recruiting engine to be able to identify those people who we believe have a strong probability of success in this as a career option, and then give them very specialized training based on our core kind of semiconductor, data center, advanced manufacturing curriculum, which we customize for every client in terms of content and length. So it could be, hey, we need 8 weeks of training, we need 10 weeks of training, we need 4 weeks of training. We can meet with your SMEs to really discover that, and then build these net new entrants into the workforce. And that's the part, when I mentioned before, that was what Smoothstack was doing differently that made me excited about this industry. And at the same time, not only are we solving a business problem for the semiconductor and data center companies, but we're giving people new career paths. This used to be very, very common in the United States, that you could have a good manufacturing job that you could keep for life, and that was the career path. And we're able to guide people to the entrance to that on-ramp for a new career. To go back to your initial question, I know I kind of went a little bit long-winded on that part of it, is what do the companies need to be doing when they're looking at this staffing shortfall? Smoothstack is certainly, an option in this space. It's not the only option, and it's not the solution in total. There's a holistic approach that really needs to be developed when you're an organization, or it's specifically a talent organization, looking at these large-scale type of engagements. We're big supporters of apprenticeships. We're big supporters of adding advanced manufacturing courses and career tracks into community colleges and 2 and 4 year degree universities. All of these things need to be supported by the industry, by the companies that are looking to grow their talent pool, to really address kind of that long-term piece where people in high school and then in college can say, yeah, this is a valid career path for me, and that's a great solution long-term and needs to be implemented. But Smoothstack and what we're doing in this space really helps bridge that gap. So you have your own apprenticeship and intern programs, continue doing that. We have awesome contacts in the industry as well. We're partners with NICA, which is the National Institute for Industry and Career Advancement. They're doing, they're definitely doing an amazing amount of work in that space. That is something that every company should be doing, but it's part of an overall strategy where we believe that Smoothstack really has an important role to play in solving this issue nationally.
So we just talked a lot about how apprenticeships and innovative ways of hiring and talent acquisition at scale are solving this workforce issue that advanced manufacturing is facing. But I now want to talk about what you touched on, how Smoothstack is helping to give people careers that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to, maybe wouldn't have been able to find the on-ramp for. I wanted to ask you, because Smoothstack's method of hiring is looking for that aptitude. We call ourselves a meritocracy. We're looking for those foundational skills. So in doing so, we're able to tap into more diverse talent pools. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's impacting hiring plans?
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of goes back to my original statement about me being excited about what Smoothstack does. In the staffing industry in general, you're moving generally, high-paying IT type of consultants from one company to another. And that's great. It gives people new jobs, exciting new things to work on. But from a societal perspective, you're not really moving the needle that much. What is exciting about what Smoothstack does is this net new piece, right? We are looking at people who would be overlooked or who would not be on the radar of today's talent acquisition team because these people wouldn't appear to have those skills on their resume or CV, while in an application type of process. Especially today with companies that have, big automated ATS systems, they're scanning their profiles. They don't see a couple of the keywords, you get an automatic email rejection. By Smoothstack looking for those foundational and core characteristics and traits, we're able to expand the talent pool to include so many other people from very, very diverse backgrounds. We have found that people coming out of the military, if they're retiring from the military, and especially if they were in a mechanical type of role, these are ideal candidates for these type of career paths. They're used to precision, they're used to kind of the hands-on approach, and you've got really good foundational components that we're finding in the military that translate very, very well into this civilian career path. That's just one example. We've had so many different people that have been trying, that I have talked to personally, that have been trying to change their career path and have attended boot camps or the like where, hey, you can get this training, but training doesn't have a destination. It's training for training's sake. I mean, you can hope in the destination being a new career, but you don't always get there. The way Smoothstack has its model set up, if we're hiring you into one of these training programs, because we've identified that you have the kind of core components needed, and you graduate, we have a guaranteed role for you. This is not just hey, let's get trained for the sake of training. We have a path for you from day one. We're consistently looking at the areas that would be underrepresented, underreported, underemployed in these areas that really move the needle in terms of getting better access for everybody, giving more opportunities to everybody, and then really giving people a leg up. Everybody needs help at some level. I've needed help in my career. I'm sure everybody here has some key person that made a major change in their life from a career perspective. So we're able to kind of do that at scale. And when I go back to hey, I sleep better at night doing this, it is that piece of it which really makes me so proud.
Yes, I wouldn't be in marketing today if it wasn't for my first boss. When I was 23, I didn't have any marketing experience, and he saw writing on my resume and he was like, I think we can translate that. And now 7 years later, here I am. Like you said, it's very fulfilling to see these candidates excel in their careers and Smoothstack being a part of it.
I mean, I mentioned that I started my career in a SAP consulting and staffing partner. I was literally 19 years old. I had kind of an internship at IBM that had ended, and I wanted to keep doing work while I was in college. And I applied for a sales role. I had no idea what SAP was. I had no idea what staff augmentation was. I literally had no idea about anything other than I knew some business buzzwords from my internship at IBM. But that was was a big opportunity that was given to me, that they said, hey, this is a 19-year-old kid, he's hungry, he wants to do it, like, give him a shot. And I would not have the career I'm in today without that one person giving me that one shot. But there's a path for those people, and that's what's exciting.
Thank you for sharing all of this, Craig, talking a little bit about our process. And if people are interested in learning more, where can they find you? Any parting words, anything you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's when you're facing these type of challenges, and if you're specifically if you're in kind of one of these advanced manufacturing type of TA roles, or in the kind of the business side, and you're looking at, hey, this is a massive 5-year problem that we have to deal with. Think outside the box. There's some really interesting real interesting options out there. We're very much in the early stages of this from the industry. We're just starting to deal with it. We're excited about the direction this is heading, from the amount of people that we could train in place. So that's very, very exciting. So my parting thought is, look at a lot of different options and try out different options when you're dealing with some of these things, because you might find a solution where you didn't quite expect it in this space. And for connecting with me, I'm all over LinkedIn all the time. So I'm the only Craig Shaneck on LinkedIn, so you can just look me up. And I would encourage people too, if you're watching this video and you have other questions, or there's other topics that you'd like us to cover in subsequent episodes, add them in the comments, add them wherever is appropriate, email us. And I've always wanted to say this, but like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.